Hello. Is there anybody there? Is there anybody up there? More to the point. I hope so. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, depending on where you are. Got a lot to say. Thought I'd hang out and chill out with you for a time. Some time and space. Okay, where am I? What's going on? Here we are. Hello. Hello, good evening. Welcome. Welcome back and cheers. What a weekend. What a few days it's been. I thought we could sort of catch up together, take stock of what's been going on and where Doctor Who could be in the wake of all of that. Where do we start? How did we get here in the first place? And where on earth could it all be going? I don't suppose we're going to be able to come up with any answers in the next however long, let's be honest. But maybe we can vent a little and take stock of how this could affect Doctor Who in the future. All of that and everything else. So I hope you had a good weekend. Mine wasn't so bad at all. I watched some TV. Yeah, so what did I watch? I watched this, and believe it or not, this reminded me of Doctor Who. So I've been making my way through Columbo, the original classic Columbos from the 1970s, starring Peter Falk. And I've got to this episode from 1974 called Mind Over Mayhem, where Columbo, Lieutenant Columbo there, he's as part of this really quite convoluted detective story. It wasn't a great episode by any stretch. A robot becomes part of the plot. You know, you haven't seen Columbo. You see the murder at the start. You see who's committed it and how, and then the idea is that we follow the lieutenant as he pieces it all together. It was brilliant when it first started. I'm starting to feel it's going a little off the boil now. But this scene in particular, when you got Columbo shaking hands with a robot, it just reminded me of Sylvester McCoy's Doctor Who. Because I've been convinced for a long time that the Seventh Doctor was based in part on Columbo. I think that the way he dresses slightly reflects that sort of disheveled sort of look, the way that Sylvester McCoy moves in that role, and the mannerisms, the crumpled sort of inconspicuous, peculiar little man that nobody would ever think would be a genius, would be possessive of so much great intellect. And that's what you get in Columbo. So yeah, I saw this, and I immediately thought of Sylvester McCoy's Doctor Who. Funny how it goes. Yeah, so I've been watching Columbo. This is a program I watch every now and again, so I don't binge watch it because I think I'd start to see through it, you know. So I watch one every 6 or 7 weeks or so. I sink into whatever year it is, 1974. So I think it started in 71, something like that. So I can just imagine I'm back there 51 years ago, where I think the world was a slightly better place. But I think this robot was in Forbidden Planet, wasn't it? But it got like a different bottom half. I gather that it turned up in various different places, which is very BBC. That's exactly the kind of thing that they would have done. So you've got creatures and robots and stuff that appeared in Out of the Unknown, and Captain Zep, and Blake Seven even, which had either appeared or would later appear in Doctor Who. So it just, yeah, it made me laugh. Would I describe Columbo as chilled out TV? Yeah, I think it is. It's pretty laid back. Even when it gets sort of tense and intense, it's still fairly cozy because he's such a cozy character, isn't he? I wonder if Sylvester McCoy was a Columbo fan. It's probably out there somewhere, whether he was or not. But yeah, that's what I like to watch when I want to wind down, when I want to relax. And that's very much the theme of this stream of streams, I suppose you could say, generally speaking. Now, I was a bit wound up earlier on. I don't mind telling you, I was considering what's going on in the Whoniverse and with its owners. But yeah, I'm starting to relax already. I don't know what it is. But so we've got a few things to get into. We're going to see what you've got to say about it all. How's your weekend been? And yeah, line them up. Yes, so thank you everybody for the comments so far. I'm just on YouTube here in the community, chatting away, having a nice sip like that, and seeing what you've got to say about whatever turns up this time. So, who's with me? Who's with me? Don't all shout at once. Whose round is it? And Funky's here, and he says hi all. Thank you, Funky. Good to see you, mate. How funky is Funky? We've got Garbage in the live chat as well. Garbage Who AI, no less. And Stephen O'Neill too from Wigan. You always mention that you're from Wigan. When you're not in Wigan, will you let us know? We'll just assume you're in Wigan at any given point. Lord Thoth is chilling too. Good to know. Good to know. And we've got hi everyone from Stephen Braddock as well. Hi Stephen, how have you been? How's your weekend, mate? Good. Hope so. It's ironic that the Eden Channel is owned by the BBC and carries commercials and is showing the Mutants and the Sea Devils this Wednesday. Well, it's owned by BBC Studios, which is the commercial arm. So it's not that ironic. It's how it works. Just how it is. It's a commercial venture. Yeah, the BBC own UK TV completely lock stock now. They bought out their partners, the various partners. Rob Alexander's in the live chat there. Good evening, panel and chat. Well, the panel, is there a panel? Can you have a panel of one? Just me this time, chilling out. Rose Kirby's joined us as well on YouTube. Good to see you, Rose. Looking forward to this, says Because Puppets. Because Puppets. How intriguing. Hello, everyone, says Stephen Harrington. Peter Harrington, sorry. Hi, Peter. And Peter's got two different icons. How odd. Unless it's two different Peters. If we doubled up on the Peter Harringtons. I had no idea it was that common a name. Funky is wondering whether to get Blake 7 Season 2 this week or leave it until Christmas. Well, you could suggest it to a loved one, couldn't you? You could sort of casually mention it in passing. I had something come from the postie today. I've got something here. Can you guess what's in here? Yes, it's this has to be Blake 7 Season 2. Well, I know it's Blake 7 Season 2 because I've had the email telling me that it's been delivered. So no, that's definitely it. Series B of Blake 7, as I like to call it. Get stuck into there. I hear voices, says Garbage. I've hearing voices all my life, mate. All my life. And Woodhouse 122 is also about to crack open their Blake 7 Series 2 set as well. I could open mine, couldn't I? I could open it live here. Late Night Chill. Yeah, so yeah, I was going to do this earlier today, and then something came up. But I thought, well, why not do it? Why not do it in the evening, just this once? See who turns up. What's to talk about? Retro Docs in the live chat too. That's Gary Akers. Good to see Gary. Fly Highland says, I like the YouTube video, Columbo in Star Wars. Columbo in Star Wars. How's that work? Columbo in Star Wars. It's quite funny. Well, you can't just tell us that and just leave it at that. It's not much of a pitch, Fly Highland, is it? My wife is your greatest fan. Talks about his wife, doesn't he? In this one, in Mind Over Mayhem, this is the first one where he's got a dog. Or at least it's the first time that I've noticed him having a dog. Yeah. Columbo is always good to chill out and watch. I do. I find all this stuff very relaxing. And this is the kind of TV that I gravitate towards now. When modern TV doesn't really seem to have much to say for itself. And yeah, I know we've got the whole sort of cozy crime phenomena, which is very popular. A lot of fans of cozy crime are members of our community here. But yeah, I can only take so much mayhem and murder. Hi, Dan, says Stephen O'Neill. Well, you're always in Birmingham. Let us know when you're outside of the West Midlands. One can be king of the geeks, Birmingham's king of the geeks, and not necessarily be in Birmingham. Have you ever considered that? Season 2, Avon lives. Of course, there's Love Thought, of course. More complex, 7 Blu-rays out today. I get the impression people are slightly obsessed. And Stephen adds, I mean, it's so we're back to the BBC Eden channel. No, you just wanted to, Stephen. No, you just wanted to tell us that you've been watching Eden, didn't you? That's what the comment was really about. You wanted to tell us that you were watching Doctor Who on Eden, and you wanted to sneak away in to try and make it match up with the topic of the stream. Yeah. Not my first barbecue, mate. I find it's ironic that the BBC Charter says they are not allowed to carry commercials. They're not carrying commercials. It's not BBC Television. It's not the British Broadcasting Corporation. It's BBC Studios. They are different things. It may be a bit of a scheme. It may be a bit of a Swiss. What do they call it? It's like it's like that game, isn't it? Sort of which cup is the ball under? They sort of move them around on the. So yeah, it is. Of course, it's a con. I can guarantee they move money around between BBC Studios and the corporation all the time. But no, that's it's not BBC Television. So no, it's the BBC have got investments in lots of things. Yeah. Boomer Doug is up as well. I've just woken up to a Chillstream. I think there is a lot of great modern TV, but I don't feel an emotional connection to it. 2 exceptions are Slow Horses and Down Cemetery Road. Brilliant. Down Cemetery Road. I don't think I've seen that. Let me know who's in that. Of course, Varada Setu is about to join the cast of Slow Horses, which we told you exclusively here at Type 40 last week. I think that was, wasn't it? So, yeah, I'll be paying a lot more attention to that in the near future. Yeah. There's a Twilight Zone, says Peter. If I remember, with Peter Falk in it. He's playing a sort of Che Guevara type, but I can't remember the story. Must have been a good one, Peter. Oh, dear. Yes. So where are we going? Where are we off to this time? Yes. So everybody's got their Blake 7 sets, or near enough. They're sort of with us. Did I mention who I am? So I am Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. Although if you ask elsewhere, I'm just some twat, really. With a microphone and a gob and a couple of hours of his time to share, to spare with you. I love the fact that this is Doctor Who Positivity, which gave me this review. So thanks for that. Yeah. But I've been across social media over the last few days, and I've seen a few things which I thought could be worth commenting on. First of all, obviously, I mean, we're waiting with bated breath, aren't we, for news of Doctor Who's future. It's imminent, short-term future, and hopes for a long-term future as well. It's not been that long since the BBC revealed their plans, didn't they, in sort of short order. At any rate, they confirmed the future of Doctor Who in the form of a solitary Christmas special for 2026. Fans of the beloved series have much to enjoy. Ahead of the special, they reminded us, with The War Between the Land and the Sea and a new animation series for CBeebies in development. See, that's not actually on until after everything else and after this special, but we can enjoy the fact that it's in development. Can we? Maybe. I don't know. Yes, so whilst we're waiting for news on the Christmas special in 2026, I was somewhat arrested to see this picture declaring that there was going to be one really big return for this special, and this is absolutely everywhere now. So apparently, according to the Hollywood Flashback Club, the BBC has just confirmed a Christmas gift for Doctor Who fans. The Time Lord returns in 2026 with a festive special and a brand new series featuring the legendary Tom Baker in one final emotional cameo. It's not true. So I think people have got their hopes up a little that this could be true, even though we can tell somehow that that's not Tom Baker. Oh dear. Yeah, so this is everywhere. This is one thing I've noticed that's made Facebook harder to use in recent times is the proliferation of AI content over there. And I don't necessarily mean the AI pictures such as this. Often such accounts use real photography, images that we've seen before even, which can kind of lend the things that they're claiming an authenticity, can't it? But in this case, this is, in my opinion, one of seemingly dozens, if not hundreds of accounts, which are completely AI. So the content is written by AI, pictures generated by AI, and probably programmed to deliver each post using artificial intelligence as well. So I have made a point of every single one of these that I come across of just blocking them, But this picture did amuse me. I'm getting sort of fond of that Doctor Who logo that Tom Baker's sporting there. We've had worse. We've definitely had worse. But I don't think I've ever seen Tom give the thumbs up. I mean, we've seen him give the two fingers. We've never the thumbs up. I don't know. What do you think Tom would have to say about all of that? He's getting ready to, he's going to hunt them down. He's going to sort them out, isn't he? He'll sort it out in all due course. And so had you seen that? And obviously Tom Baker's coming up to his 92. Is he something like that? So, I think as regards to Doctor Who, I think he's over it. I think he's largely done. I don't think he records a huge amount even for Big Finish anymore. So the idea of him being there for the special and for the series that could maybe follow, did make me laugh. It did make me laugh. We've got some. So Boomer Doug says, AI is scary. I just stumbled across a channel that has cloned the voice of the critical drinker, and it's flawless. He is aware of it. Well, I suppose it would. Obviously, the drinker's very successful. You're going to clone somebody, you'd probably clone one of the biggest and the best. That's a huge weapon, says Peter Harrington. Camera's not dropped, is it? Oh, you're talking about Tom. You're talking about Tom. I don't know how this went for him. Hell of a way of getting home, isn't it? Big uns, says Funky. AI is getting ridiculous now, especially on YouTube Shorts. Has it taken a footing there as well? I hadn't seen. I'm not seeing, but these articles like that. I mean, we have enough problems as it is with fake news in the Doctor Who world, with false hope, with irresponsible commentary, and with politicized voices. So there's a lot of noise already. So when you further pollute that with imagery like that and claims like that, particularly at a time when everybody's a little bit down, and you think, well, what could be better than Tom Baker turning up again in Doctor Who? A lot of people would love that. And it's just a shame to get people's hopes up, because there would be some people who will assume that this is legitimate for one reason or another, depending on how much attention they're paying to the greater culture, I suppose. And that shouldn't be on them. So had you seen this? What do you think? Have you seen stuff like this? Give it a wide berth would be my advice. On the last show, we got together and we spoke like this. I was talking about one of my favourite subjects, it's Farada Satu. And people reminded me that she wasn't the only recent companion who's making good. And I just wanted to reassure you that I hadn't forgotten that Millie Gibson is on Channel 5 tonight. So this is from 9 p.m. on Channel 5. Millie Gibson stars in the very first episode of The Forsyths. It's a 6-part series. third stab at adapting the Forsyth saga for TV. After the BBC did it way back in 1971, something like that. And then ITV, they did it too in the early noughties, I think. Yeah, and we've got this new version here starring Millie Gibson and all manner of other famous, recognizable faces in different period costumes and things. I can see there's Jack Davenport there. That's Steve Moyer from True Blood and from The Art Detectives on the far right. Fantastic stuff. So, yeah, see who you can spot, hear who you recognize. Some of them I only know their names, like Tuppence Middleton. That sounds like a porn star. I'm sure she's lovely. Francesca Annis is in there. Susan Hampshire, OBE. Wasn't Susan Hampshire in the original Forsyth saga? She might have been. But my attention is drawn to the bottom row there, and Josette Simon, Blake Seven star Josette Simon, OBE, is appearing in this in one role or another. Of course, she won't be in your Series B box set that's just been released. She didn't arrive in Blake Seven until the following year, did she? But there she is. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, so who's watching this? Who's up for this? I'm very keen to see what Millie does next. I wouldn't say she was done dirty by Doctor Who. I think she actually came out of it looking pretty good compared to most, certainly compared to some. So I think this could be fairly good. I mean, it's the sort of show that could run for 3 or 4 series, isn't it? And give her a lot more longevity than Doctor Who has ever afforded us. So, yeah, get on that after we've finished up here at Channel 5 at 9 p.m. But this will be streaming over on their streaming platform service Thing, which I think you can watch that even if you haven't got a TV license. So you might want to get over there and have a cheeky one, have a crafty one. Let me know how you get on. Yeah. Okay, what next? What else? Yes, so this Disney Doctor Who. Now, I remember the first time I saw this logo and feeling uneasy. There was the reassuring diamond logo. It's back. How fabulous. Looking better than ever. Sort of repointed, finished off beautifully, and fit to begin a new era of our favourite show and restore some hope and lustre. That's what we sort of thought, wasn't it? But what's that at the bottom? Disney Plus. Oh, it just doesn't look right, does it, somehow? It just didn't look right. Did we ever get used to it? I don't think I ever did, to tell you the truth. But there it was. Anyway, it's 3 years ago, believe it or not, this relaunch was happening. And of course, now it's all over. It's all done and dusted. And we're wondering what's next, aren't we? And despite their public coolness on the subject, we've been assured for several months now at Type 40 that BBC Studios is still actively seeking a replacement international streaming partner following the collapse of this arrangement with Disney Plus. And it would stand to reason that one option to acquire those international streaming rights would be Paramount Plus. And I'm aware that this rumor is really taking flight over the last few days. So is there any truth to it? Can't see any reason why not. I mean, I'd be amazed, given the recent developments over at Paramount itself since August, when Paramount Global was acquired by Skydance, wasn't it? So this was a big rebrand, a big buyout earlier this year. Paramount have sort of reestablished themselves and are working towards an entirely new presence in this market. So if you're going to go around and knock doors, why wouldn't you speak to Paramount about the prospects of getting Doctor Who on Paramount Plus? I hadn't heard that they had, but but there's only so many of them, isn't there? Particularly those that have got that international profile. I think Paramount Plus is certainly available in one form or another in Britain. So they do have a presence, and Paramount is a recognizable brand, isn't it? It's a legacy brand, a studio. stretching all the way back, despite this sort of change of hands. And they really had to go through the approval process, didn't they, for this to happen? And so Skydance's founder, David Ellison, he's become the new chairman and CEO of Paramount. So it's a completely sort of new setup there. They're going to look to develop new shows, of course, and attract new talent, but they're probably going to be looking to make new international arrangements. There could be a sort of synergy. I struggle to think of it in those terms, but Paramount is the home of not just Star Trek or new Star Trek, if you count new Star Trek. Yeah, the Star Trek shows that have been produced since 2017 have had some sort of streaming component to them, haven't they? I think it was CBS All Access originally. It's gone through 2 or 3 different names. Presently, Strange New Worlds is on there. They've got a new show launching in the new year. So Paramount is the home to Star Trek, but it's also the home of Mission Impossible as well. A pretty big franchise in itself. And they've got all those Tyler Sheridan shows, haven't they? Yellowstone and Lioness, Tulsa King, all those shows starring all those huge names. So for Doctor Who to be aligned with this and all of that, I think that would be a pretty largely good thing. Paramount is moving to acquire Warner Brothers at the moment, but then again, so is Netflix. They might not be successful, for all I know. We'll probably have to wait and see how that plays out. But what do you think? I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that Paramount as a legacy brand is a safe home for Doctor Who, that it makes sense for it to be somewhere that has its own stable of franchises? I don't know. I can't help but think it'll get a little bit lost in the mix, just the same way as it was lost on Disney. And if they're in the middle of taking over somewhere else and something else, if they get Warner Brothers and its back catalogue of movies and intellectual properties, where would that leave something like Doctor Who? I think we'd end up with a very similar situation. There's no point in doing the same things over and over again, isn't it? Because you can't expect different results, can you? We'll see. We'll see. What do people think about this? Tread carefully. It's Tony HP. Always. Now, do you mean with Paramount Plus? Hi, Dan, says Stephen O'Neill. Are you watching the Matt Smith repeats on BBC Three? No. I've got them on Blu-ray. Got them on Blu-ray, got them on DVD. No. It's good that they're there. We've talked about this before. We have talked about this. So I know they're there, but no, I'm not watching them. Why would I? Nicholas Horton's joined us in the live chat. Has anybody got... Oh, some people are very keen on seeing Millie Gibson in the Forsyths. Yeah, that starts tonight. Considering Billie Piper is working with Netflix a lot lately, and they have experience with shows in good genres for Doctor Who, I'm surprised Netflix isn't the obvious one to go to, says Fly Highland. I believe they have spoken with Netflix and Amazon. The last I heard was that Amazon was potentially very interested because they do host Doctor Who content there already. They have Doctor Who Unleashed on Amazon and various other things. So I'm prepared to accept that Paramount is almost certainly in the mix there somewhere. But I'd be amazed if they're the only ones that they're still talking to or aren't going back to. I mean, Paramount Plus is not exactly in its infancy, but I think it's all restructuring. And it's very central to the shows that Tyler Sheridan is making. Stephen says, if Paramount gets it, there's a possibility of a Who crossover. Is that a good thing? You're talking about with Star Trek? I've got no interest in it at all. No interest in it whatsoever. But I'm aware that some people feel very differently. Paramount Pictures was started in 1912. It's a legacy studio. Woodhouse122 says, I can't see anyone other than Amazon take a risk on the show, especially after the Disney farce. Why Amazon, though? Why would Amazon be exempt from having the same doubts as everybody else? I agree with you. I think that what went on with Disney very publicly, and that statement from the BBC, which is, it's transparent. You know that that's not a harmonious parting. People within the industry will be able to decode that far better than we can. So I would imagine that anybody that they speak to, any platform studio, is going to be looking very carefully at that prospect. Regardless of how long Doctor Who has been running in one form or another, what is the property actually worth? What's its most recent track record form been like? Gary is in the live chat. Gary Akers says, after the Disney mess, I think any co-production partner would insist on a lot of creative control. Wouldn't be unreasonable, would it? As I understand it, the question of creative control with Disney was slightly different because of the nature of how the deal came together. Whereas now, I wouldn't say they'd be in a position where beggars can't be choosers. I can't imagine Bad Wolf and BBC Studios begging anyone to take Doctor Who. That they are perfectly capable of making it alone. But I'd say they prefer if they can come back with another global streaming home. I don't think it's unreasonable for a platform to expect some degree of creative control. It's how do we define a lot? I think if they were to look at it and see, who are we going to be working with? And if it was, for example, Russell T Davies, who's just been a key figure in face planting an entire production, in essence, you can see what they'd say, well, we'll make it, but we're not working with that guy, or he can show us his homework and we'll mark it and give him back revisions. I think that would be pretty reasonable. But this is what leads me to believe the fact that this is likely still ongoing. This is what leads me to believe that the things that are telling us now were decided several months ago, not a fortnight ago, and that proceedings as regards the following season are probably considerably more advanced. They will have their showrunner. We know they've got their showrunner. And they've probably got some further writers in pocket as well. Boomer Dog says, at first I was appalled at the possible Paramount Doctor Who, but it couldn't be worse than what Russell T Davies did to it. They just need a good showrunner. They need a showrunner who's hungry, who's got genuine stories to tell, not scores to settle and messages to push. I believe that Pete McTighe is an excellent showrunner. I believe he's a massive Doctor Who fan and a talented writer. I consider it possible that if given scope to shepherd the show through 3 seasons worth of content, of adventures, of episodes, and to make a real mark on it, I think a lot of people in the Doctor Who universe would be quite surprised at what he was capable of. based on what we've been given so far. It's not that it wouldn't be woke. He's woke. It's very clear he's woke. But in his earlier work, prior to Doctor Who, I would imagine he was woke then as well, but it's all incredibly entertaining. It very watchable, very populist. And it never made me feel as a viewer that I was being talked down to in any way. So I'd like to think that that is still the greater part of Pete McTighe. Whereas Russell T Davies has washed out old has-been with a massive chip on each shoulder. Apple TV would make Doctor Who must-watch TV again, declares Pluto Spirit. See, I rate Apple TV, but I do consider them to be the more boutique option. I think that to subscribe to Apple TV, it's more expensive than all the rest. There's a lot less potential audience for their content. And Doctor Who should be seen by as many people as possible. I think Doctor Who should be my ideal place would be with Amazon, because Amazon feels like it's kind of part of the family. I think for a lot of British people, you see the familiarity of Amazon, people having parcels delivered from Amazon. You see their vans everywhere. Yeah, I just think it's got that kind of feel to it. I think there's something secure about Amazon, which would be good for Doctor Who to be associated with them. I think if it was associated with Paramount Plus, this screams Americana in the same way that Disney does. And I don't think it would have any. I think that British people, even the general audience, are just going to roll their eyes and think, oh, same old, same old. Oh, they've just swapped one out, one in. It would be like that, and that would be with pretty good reason. I dare say, from what I hear, this new guy who's taken over Paramount does have a very different way of looking at the landscape than the people at Disney. He's not remotely woke. He's another populist. In fact, as I understand it, he's a Republican, a public Republican. But doesn't necessarily mean that he'd need to program exclusively for that sort of audience. But it's certainly more encouraging that he could be more aware you can't just cater to one side of the island the way that Disney has been. Funky says, I remember when I had Disney, it had a lot of BBC shows on. Yeah, it did. I don't know if it's got so many now. It does have them, but they tend to be the co-productions. That's how I saw Bodyguard with Richard Madden and Keely Hawes, which I thought was brilliant. Yeah, I didn't watch it on the BBC. I watched it on Netflix. It was only about 3 weeks after it had been on the BBC as well. That was a key factor in me deciding not to have a TV license. Pluto Spirit says they weren't even capable of making it with Disney, never mind alone. Well, the BBC have been making Doctor Who alone for 20 years. Well, they made it alone for 15 years with various lower level co-production deals in place. So they're talking about just going back to that model. There's no reason why they couldn't make Doctor Who alone. No reason at all. Sorry, Pluto Spirit, you're wrong. Stephen O'Neill says not all of us have a streaming service, so we would still want it to be shown on the BBC. Well, the rumor is that's the one point of consternation. That's the stumbling block at the moment, in that Paramount are asking for or are targeting, I should say, all Doctor Who content to be on their platform. So they want rights to all the previous series as well. And I would imagine it's just New Who that they'd be looking at to sit alongside all their other shows, so that people could potentially, the same principle as when it was on Disney, or when it was with HBO Max, wasn't it? That people could watch it all, or when it was on Netflix back in 2011, 2012, when it had that enormous breakout success in the States. That's because people could watch it all. And that's why these shows, the numerous shows in this network, in this universe, the Yellowstone, I think the original show was called, wasn't it? They're all interconnected shows in different time periods. And people they get into the franchise and then they go and watch all the rest of them. It's not difficult to work out. And it worked very much in Doctor Who's favour on Netflix, and it absolutely could again. There's no reason why it couldn't work again. For the time being, Doctor Who is produced by Bad Wolf and BBC Studios in Cardiff together. One special coming in the not too distant future, whereas Paramount Plus is a subscription service. I mean, you could say the BBC is a subscription service, isn't it? So this is owned by Paramount Skydance, and it says here the service offers a mix of on-demand movies and TV series, original programming, and live sports. They've currently got a business model, which is, I suppose you could say, it's a Starmer model, the Starmer way of doing it. So it's two-tiered. You can either go for the essential subscription, a base level, or there's a premium option as well. So there's just the two. It's not really confusing. But as to what sort of footing they've got in the rest of the world, I'm not entirely sure. Because to be fair to Disney Plus, they did manage to get a lot of coordination across the globe, didn't they? That's why they could pull it off in the way that they did. I think things are different for Paramount depending on which country that they're in. Bad Wolf have seriously tainted their copybook. I can't see many companies knocking. Well, they're the ones doing the knocking. They're the ones approaching, as I'm led to understand. It's a buyer's market, isn't it? It's up to them to interest them. Woodhouse 122 says McTire's 3 Who stories have been woke. I wouldn't want him to show. As I said earlier on, this guy has done a lot more than those 3 mostly terrible episodes of Doctor Who. Go and check his filmography. He's run shows, he's written shows, very successful stuff, very popular stuff. And then there's all that stuff that he's done for the Doctor Who Blu-ray box sets. Don't judge him on Kablam. Certainly don't judge him on Praxius or whatever that terrible thing was, Lucky Day this year. He's capable of doing a lot more, a lot better than that. Don't write Pete McTighe off based on those 3. You might be able to write him off based on The War Between the Land and the Sea, because as I understand it, that being a different animal, I think he would have been given more scope there, but obviously he's still tethered to Russell T Davies. But again, I said earlier on, don't write him off based on those 3 episodes. Philip Roy is in the live chat here. Says, I prefer the BBC to make it on their own with a budget. 10-hour-long episodes with an expensive opener, smaller, scary episodes after then push the boat out for a 2-part finale. Well, it was never. That's largely the format that it was at before. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think there's a lot to be said for that. And it wasn't broken. It wasn't broken. Tony asks, does Warner Brothers have a streaming service? Yes, they own HBO Max. That's theirs. Well, for now, it's theirs. It's going to be Paramount's pretty soon. Paramount, I'd say it's going to be either Paramount or Netflix that buy it. What Paramount want to do is deconstruct HBO Max and move it into something else. So they're going to sort of split up all the various different quarters to it if they do get Warner Brothers. So HBO Max will likely cease to exist. Boomer Dog says Pete McTighe did a great Australian fantasy show called Nowhere Boys, very low budget and well written. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. So where could Doctor Who end up? What do you think? I mean, never mind Doctor Who. I mean, when you look at that logo It's got the diamond logo in the middle and the Disney logo at the bottom, but the BBC logo was at the top. And after the last few days, who would ever want to get into bed with the BBC right now? Does make you wonder, because everything that's gone on with them since last Wednesday, Thursday, my God, has that been a wake-up call for people, certainly internationally? I feel any last sort of residue that the BBC brand had from the past of being the home of excellent drama and impartial news and superb world-class reporting, it's gone down the shitter, hasn't it? Pretty big time. So the word at the moment is Paramount Plus. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you a Star Trek fan? Does the prospect of a crossover with Star Trek, does that delight you and fascinate you in any way? After all these decades of talk about it, we know Russell T Davies was bang up for that. Alex Kurtzman was up for it. He never looks particularly bang up for everything, doesn't he? What a dreary little man. Not going to go round and round in circles on this show, Pluto Spirit. You've had my answer. If you don't like it, mate, piss off, basically. Okay, yes, so where Doctor Who is right now is in a state of hangover from all of this. Mel Gibson has survived it beautifully. We wish her all the best for the Forsyths, which starts on Channel 5 this very evening. All 6 episodes will be available to stream after the fact as well. So there's one every Monday from now. Ncuti Gatwa, more on Ncuti Gatwa later in the week on Type 40 Live. And Russell T Davies recently cancelled his appearance at Leeds University, didn't he? Where he was giving a talk on the future of TV. Good God. Yeah, I don't think we've particularly missed any nuggets of real gold there. Let me know what you think, though. Everybody suitably chilled, yes. You chilled, you relaxed? I am, sort of. I'm getting there. Getting a lot of it off my chest, blowing off some steam. 2-tier Stalin? Says Nicholas. I'll get the knock at the door. I say it too loud. Rose says, I'm really angry and sad to think we won't have the spin-off. No advertisement, no trailers, no merchandise. No one will know about the spin-off, therefore no interest. I thought you were in the UK, Rose. No advertisements, no trailers, no merchandise. There'll be trailers. I can't think of there'll be much merchandise for The War Between the Land and the Sea. Because it's an adult show, isn't it? It's after 9 p.m. So they're making toys and things and books. There might be, I don't know, I think it's too early to say. Funky says, where's the money for this Christmas special coming from if they still haven't got a streaming partner? Well, you don't believe the BBC. Haven't you learnt anything by this week? Don't believe a fucking word the BBC say. They've been saying they've been skint, certainly as long as I've been alive. They're always pleading poverty. They've got plenty of money. And if you're a license fee payer, they've got your money. They can afford to make however many series of Doctor Who, and they can certainly afford to make 1 hour special to screen in a year's time. They've got plenty of money. It's a lot of this is about saving face. You think about all the noise that they made about having that global streaming platform. They know that the people who put those streaming platforms together, that curate their content, the BBC are aware that compared to them, these people are brave visionaries who have developed these platforms and who are developing the whole medium at a time of immense pressure. where viewers are being distracted with so many other things. The BBC can't do that. They can't combat that. All they can do is try to cling on to their funding model, to their audience, to browbeat and blackmail and gaslight their own customers into continuing to take their product. It's sad, quite frankly. So the BBC looks to places like Amazon, to Netflix, to Disney Plus. I think, well, they can do all the hard work for us. Now, this is one of the reasons why they were more than happy to give Bad Wolf Studios the rights to make Doctor Who for an extended period of time as well. Making Doctor Who was a headache to BBC Studios. When it was working, they'd got no idea why it was working. And when it was failing, they couldn't understand it. You know, our contacts were telling us at the time, as the Jodie Whittaker era was literally turning to shit all around them, the BBC, also like Piers Wenger, these people who were paid enormous salaries and promoted for every single failure, they had no idea why it was failing. We, the viewers, could tell that it was the shit acting, the shit stories, the generally being shit. But they hadn't got a clue. They couldn't see what they were doing wrong. This is what the people want, isn't it? We've gender swapped the Doctor, haven't we? Just a bunch of Muppets. Muppets and chancers. People who were overeducated, just went to uni, then straight to work at the BBC through some sort of program, some sort of apprenticeship recruitment program that they only take graduates. Go and work for the BBC, you'll be set for life, blah, blah, blah. Just keep your nose clean, all that kind of thing. Whereas the genuine innovation has been done overseas. And they know that. The days of the BBC being something we could all be proud of, broadcast to the world through things like the World Service, could all take pride in these things. Those days are long gone, mate. Long, long gone. Boomer Dog says, I think Doctor Who should reinvent itself like James Bond. Stop referencing the past. The proposed Russell T Davies special is a huge mistake. Start fresh. You know, if it was a special that was on this year, I think, okay, one special to tie it up. But to wait 15 months, another year on, I have to agree with you, Doug. I think that it feels like a placeholder. It feels like it's there because they've got nothing else. And that's probably what it is. It's there to buy them some time for the brand to tread water. Hi, Sasha Cosette in the live chat. French people like me, we don't have BritBox, and we never got Doctor Who. We never got the Doctor Who 1996 movie in physical with a French dub. It was only on TV. Have you seen it? Have you seen it now? Have you got it now? Yeah, I mean that was the problem, wasn't it? In the broadcasting days of old, nothing was synchronized at all. Not just in the times that it was shown, but in the ways that people got it. A Dark Place One says, does this mean Bad Wolf aren't relinquishing their stranglehold? Well, okay. There's no stranglehold. Bad Wolf bid for the rights to make Doctor Who for an extended period, and they won those rights to make the show. It remains with them until 2029. So it's likely we'll be seeing Bad Wolf produced Doctor Who content on screen until around 2030. As I understand it, that's the cut-off point. I can only say so much, but yeah, it's with them. Despite what you may be hearing elsewhere, Bad Wolf do have Doctor Who until 2029. So they bid for it fair and square. They pursued it, I should say, at a time where the BBC didn't want to make it. I mean, I don't know whether they seriously spoke to any other production companies, because obviously Jane Tranter is BBC through and through until she founded Bad Wolf with Julie Gardner. So I suspect it was prearranged. But, you know, there might have been other people bidding for it. I don't know. Pluto Spirit asks, do you like the current logo, Dan? What are your thoughts on it? The current Doctor Who logo? I've spoken about this quite a few times. Do you mean the diamond logo we had on earlier on? The blue diamond? I loved it when it was first revealed. Again, we've talked about this umpteen times. I loved it when it was first revealed, but now I feel that it's kind of been disgraced. I feel that bringing the diamond logo back was there to lure us into a false sense of security. So now I think I associate it with something a little distasteful. But the diamond logo itself is a design classic, absolutely. In the same way that the Star Wars logo is, in the same way that the Volkswagen badge is. Yeah, so that diamond logo is something special. Now I'm starting to wish they'd never bought it back. But yeah, thanks for the question. We've talked about that quite a lot. Davis has gone, hasn't he? Well, he's no longer the showrunner of Doctor Who. He's the writer and executive producer of a special, which will be on next Christmas. So Doctor Who hasn't got a showrunner at the moment. So this is it for Russell T Davies, and you did hear it here first, with any credibility here first. Doctor Who magazine and the BBC will probably tell you in September. No, it will be before then. It will be hearing about it sooner rather than later from official sources. I don't doubt. If the Christmas 2027 special is a success, I can see the BBC going it alone with a few. Well, again, I don't think that they can make this series alone if they wish. I've no doubt. I've no doubt. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the rest of it, because I think people have mentioned it already. Let's have a quick break. Where should we go? What should we have? Something a bit more chilled out than usual. Oh, yeah.
And what can I get you, sir?
Oh, give me a gin and tonic. No, make that a double. I need it. I just bought my television license.
Ah.
God, 58 quid. I ask you, 58 quid for the privilege of sitting in your own home, watching your own television set. It's diabolical. I mean, what's the BBC ever given us for 58 quid? Oh.
They make excellent dramas, huh?
What?
They make excellent dramas, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right.
And pretty good natural history films.
Yeah, but apart from excellent drama and the wonderful natural history programmes, what have the BBC ever given us?
Well, there's some jolly good cricket coverage. And golf.
Athletics. And Wimbledon. And racing.
Oh, sport.
And snooker.
How could you miss it?
And there's superb news coverage from very early in the morning.
News.
And there's politics,
Elections?
current affairs,
Yeah, true, point taken.
documentaries.
Yeah, all right, documentaries granted.
Consumer programs and series.
Fine, all right, but look, the point is...
Films.
Yeah, but...
And radio, too.
And 1.
And 3.
And 4.
Yeah, all right, I forgot about radio. But...
There's children's telly too.
And science.
All right, fair enough, yeah.
And comedy. Yes, comedy. Yeah, that's always laughing. And there's alternative comedy.
Yeah, all right, fair enough, yeah. All right, there's comedy and alternative comedy, but...
And they did live bait for us.
Oh, they did that, did they? Okay, point taken, fair enough. But, be fair, apart from excellent drama, the natural history programmes, the sports coverage, news, current affairs, documentaries, the consumer programmes, series, films, Radio 1, Radio 2, Radio 3, Radio 4, children's television, science, comedy, alternative comedy, and music, what have the BBC ever given us?
Well, there's chat shows,
Oh, shut up, Wogan. I mean, there's not even any commercials. Well, except this one.
There I was, all chilled out. And that's annoyed me again now. Remembering how good the BBC used to be. Was it ever good value for money? Obviously, with the cost of living always goes up, doesn't it? 16p a day. But they've always done that, sort of guilt tripped the audience into, well, it's only this, it's only that. But there was a lot more to be proud of in the BBC of old. There sincerely was. And when I see those people in that advert, that was from 1985, and I remember that being on TV all the time. When I see committed, vigilant, professional broadcasters, people like Sue Lawley in there, when I see Peter Snow, when I see David Dimbleby, David Attenborough, Terry Wogan, and I compare them to the crowd that they've got now. Everybody in the media now, and everybody who fronts some of the most distinguished, recognizable brands within the brand on the BBC. You could weep. When did it all go so wrong? When did it all? Because obviously they can't go forever, can they? Alan Wicker's been dead for years. There he was in the pub with John Cleese, wasn't he? Bob Geldof. Bob Geldof, who's still on the ear roll, isn't he? We're still the bad guys to Bob. Bless him. Greasy twat. Oh, did I say that out loud? Yeah, so that was the BBC back in 1985, when it was something genuinely to be proud of. But there was always a feeling right back then. There were people you would speak to who did resent the fact that paying the license fee was compulsory, that they didn't have a choice in the equation. That's always niggled some people. We were a household that always watched the BBC, more so than ITV. Our tastes were more towards the kind of programming and the feel of the BBC. But I think if I had felt differently, because one of my really good childhood friends was from an ITV house. So whenever I went for tea at their place, it was ITV that was always on. It was Cannon and Ball, it was Bullseye and all that kind of thing. Whereas in our house, it was the Generation Game and it was Basil Brush, it's that kind of thing. So I think if I'd have been in an ITV house, I can see why people would have asked about it. But generally speaking, it was a lot easier to defend the BBC back then because the quality of programming spoke for itself. I don't think anyone was ever in question. Saturday nights, Basil Brush, Doctor Who, The Generation Game, Duchess of Duke Street, The News, The Two Ronnies, Parkinson, Match of the Day, enough said, says Stephen Braddock, quite right. Russell's in the live chat. Hiya, Russell. Bloody hell, is there not, there must not be any drag nights on anywhere in the UK for Russell T. Davis to have made it to the live chat to join us on this show. Cheers, Russell. He's probably in transit somewhere. Good luck on Grindr tonight, my friend. Hope it goes your way. What else have we got? Boomer Dog is a fan of the Celebrity Traitors. How good was that? Once again, it proved people will watch good TV. Don't watch it. Not interested. I'm aware that it's caught people's imagination. It does seem to be one of those shows that comes along once every 5 or 10 years that becomes the next big thing. And the fact that it's on the BBC, that's good for them. Usually it means they won't keep it. Remember the Great British Bake Off? Now that is still running, but when the BBC had it, it was massively popular. But they get outbid, they get lazy with things, and they get taken. So how long will the BBC be able to keep the Traitors? Because you can guarantee it's not an in-house production. I bet it's made by an independent. Yes. So on Doctor Who terms, I'm getting getting away with myself here, getting down all sorts of rabbit holes. So yes, I was looking at this. I saw this news a couple of days ago. Now, I've got this box set. This is a really nice box set. It's been out of print for quite a long time. It was put out in 2023. The first full series of New Who, plus all the various related specials. So it's everything from Rose right through to the End of Time Part 2 is in this box set on Blu-ray, looking fantastic, with some really nice extras in there, some little exclusive special features, all beautifully packaged, tightly packaged, so it doesn't take up too much space either. That was sold out, I think, within about a fortnight of it being on sale back in 2023. And it's a really lovely thing, but it's about to be reissued, which I thought, oh, that's strange. Why now? And in the same packaging too. According to Matthew Purchase over on X, they've taken this opportunity. So what they've done is that they've reissued that box set with a new corrected disc for the episode Fear Her from Series 2, which removes the BBC newsreader, as was the disgraced BBC newsreader Hugh Edwards, who delivered a voiceover in that. So it removes Hugh Edwards' audio participation. So the BBC have gone back to that box set to try and erase yet another pervert that was on their payroll. Did they think we're all going to just forget that Hugh Edwards was originally in that? This is what they always do. This is what they always do. Whereas they haven't bothered fixing the audio problem that fans have been complaining about on the Next Doctor special at all. You see what their priorities are, don't you? Covering their own tracks, sponging their own history, rather than listening to their customers. Small potatoes compared to the problems that the BBC are experiencing this week. It's been scandal after scandal after scandal for years, hasn't it? Probably since the truth came out about the late Jimmy Savile, who was employed, platformed by the BBC for decades. And now we know that he was probably one of the most prolific child sex offenders in British history. Committing many offences on BBC property. But that was just where it started, wasn't it? Their shameful treatment of Cliff Richard, Tony Blackburn, several other talent. There's scandal after scandal after scandal. But this week, my God, have they picked the wrong fight with the wrong bloke, haven't they? So, yeah. Where do you want to start with this? So, President Trump has apparently sent a letter to the BBC threatening them with legal action. Have you seen this? Over an episode of Panorama that they screened about a year ago in the run-up to the 2024 presidential election. The president has demanded the BBC immediately retract the Panorama program from last year and has called it false and defamatory. He's threatening them with legal action, with taking them to court for a rumoured $1 billion. And if he wins, and I think it's pretty likely that he will, if he wins, who do you think is going to be paying for that? It's going to be the license fee payer again, isn't it? If you've got a BBC TV license, you'll be paying for the BBC's mistakes yet again. The BBC must be defunded. If it's to stand any chance of being saved at all, it must be slimmed down and defunded. So this is what happened. This is the latest and greatest cock-up you could possibly imagine. I think this is what went on. They doctored a video component part of that episode of Panorama to make it look as if the president had said something that he hadn't.
Have a look here at how they selectively edited the president back in 2020 and then what he actually said.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell.
It's pretty extreme, isn't it? You'll be with them. They're going to fight like hell. Pretty bold. But what did he actually say?
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
Hell of a difference, isn't it?
You see what they did there? They cut away, used different audio from a different part of the speech and made it look like it ran together. Well done, BBC.
What a disgrace. What a stupid mistake. Did they think that he wouldn't see? That nobody would say? I mean, I suppose it has taken a year. But my God. I couldn't believe it when I saw this unfold last week. I haven't had a license for a number of years, so I'd not seen that. And I don't pay any real attention to BBC News coverage, even when it's the short snippets that they put out on YouTube and things like that. The audacity to do something like that to a world leader, an ally of ours, our biggest ally, is extraordinary. Of course, it's sullied the brand of the BBC, finally, internationally, probably signaled the beginning of the end, certainly, for the BBC license fee. And one could argue that for any brand which exists under that umbrella, that sits alongside that BBC logo, that everything has been tainted. If you were an executive behind a global streaming platform, you're going to think twice, aren't you, about any arrangement you may enter into with the BBC regarding anything. Because it has that association now, not just with impartiality, but with activism, bias. And if Trump makes good on his plans to take them to court, heaven knows where the BBC will end up. I think it's shamed their entire history. Everything that's happened to the BBC over the last 10 years. And it does mean that the speed at which people are giving up their TV license, which I think is at a rate of about 1 million a year, that's bound to accelerate now. Be honest, if you've got a license, if you are a license holder, if you pay for a TV license now, how many of you are thinking twice? Particularly when there's a year when Doctor Who's not on. Because at least before you could say, well, I watch Doctor Who, therefore I should pay. You know, if you do receive a product, yeah, of course you should pay for it. If you use a service, you should pay for it. But if you're not using that service, if you don't enjoy that product, if you don't use that product, why on earth should you pay for the service? And if you don't respect that brand, feel proud to be a customer, happy to be a customer, then that's gonna affect it. When people look at their budget for the year, look how much they've got going out on the monthly, they go, why am I going to pay the BBC to continually bring shame on our entire nation within their programming, continue to propagandize, browbeat, gaslight? So glad I gave mine up. The BBC have made a statement. Believe it or not, the BBC have made a statement now. This is just in the last few hours in response to this. So they've said, what is it? Yes, so they've said, we will review the letter and respond directly in due course. It's not saying much, is it? It's not saying much. And we have a quote here too from the BBC chair, Samir Shah, who said, we have received communication from President Trump and his people, and we're now considering how to reply to him. And when pressed as to whether Trump would sue the BBC, the chairman said, I do not know that yet, but he's a litigious fellow, so we should be prepared for all outcomes. We should be prepared for all outcomes. And again, a value judgment against the president. The leader of the free world. Nice. Class act. What a shameful performance. I mean, I thought this was bad last week when the story first started to break. But obviously over the weekend, we had the resignation of the Director General, Tim Davey, and the News Chief Executive Officer, Deborah Turnus. Several days later, they both resigned. I'm not sure this is enough. This seems to me to be a case of them falling on their sword. I would imagine there'll be some sort of payoff involved as well. Tim Davey, of course, took that role with the BBC as Director General about 5 years ago. He'd previously been over on BBC America, where he'd been somewhat of an ally to Doctor Who. And so when he came over to be Director General, I think a lot of us were quite hopeful. But it was just more of the same, wasn't it? Another woke arsehole, another one lining his own pockets, another one passing the buck. As for this lady, who's this again? This is Deborah Furness, is it something like that? Look at that expression on her face. Do you see shame there? Not what I see. It's not what I'm seeing at all. Activists lining their own pockets, acting out their own grievances and grudges. Propagandizing the viewing public. License fee payers are paying for the privilege. Who on earth would want to get into bed with the BBC after this? Panorama, that predates Doctor Who by 10 years. 1953 was when Panorama started. Distinguished a magazine program focusing around current affairs. And dragged through the dirt now. They took 3 parts of a speech by Trump and re-edited it to make it look like he was saying something he simply wasn't. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Doesn't look like she's got a care in the world, does she? I wonder why that is. Yes, so did you see this coming? What do you think it means for Doctor Who? What do you think it means for the BBC? I personally have come to believe that we actually lost the BBC as an institution to be proud of quite a long time ago. I'm not exactly sure when, but I think it's been a number of years ago. And what we're going to see now, it's not going to be pretty, is it? But it's been a long time coming. They refused to adapt to the modern world, to be competitive and to put their viewers first. Instead, they talk down to you and fill their schedules with propaganda. They have recruitment programs which are deliberately prejudicial and exclusive. An absolute disgrace. Everything that is un-British practiced by the BBC. Stephen O'Neill was also a BBC family. It was a BBC house. We rarely watched ITV. Traitors is the only BBC program I watch, says Garbage. It does seem to be one of those shows that comes along every now and then. But when you think about it, the BBC TV license is about to go up to £180 a year. If you're watching one or two shows, surely that's money that's going to be better spent elsewhere. This isn't the BBC I grew up loving, says Pluto Spirit. No, me neither. And I never minded paying for the TV license either. To be honest, I always thought it was good value for money because I did use a lot of the services and I did watch a lot of their programs and enjoy them for the most part. But when it got to a point where I wasn't, as a customer, I made the choice that I don't use that product anymore, therefore I won't be purchasing that product. But the BBC don't see it like that. Not Banksy says they should put the people who pay the license fee first. Yeah, and that's older people for the most part. This is the main problem that they're going to have, in that nobody under 30 sees the need, has the desire to have a TV license. They can't. You mention it to people who were of that age. Like my son, when in fact all three of them, when they went off to university, each of them had that same point where they were living communally, student accommodation, and there'd be a TV in the flat or the apartment, and between them, in one case, at the BBC, it got really quite nasty, and they took them to court. There was a group of 5 students, and the idea was they were pressuring them into having a TV license. And none of them watched the telly. I think in the end they took one out simply because they didn't know what to do. It was only because my son rang me and asked me about it. And I said, no, you don't do it. If you're not going to watch it, don't do it. But this is what they do. This is what they've been used to. This is the place, this position of grace that they've existed in for decades now. Guaranteed income. And the decline started in the late 90s, I would say, says Funky. Well, that's going to be dependent on who you talk to. There'll be a time where people sort of watched less or more. I don't think I watched a great deal of the BBC in the late 90s either. But I sort of came back around to them in the early noughties, and there was some good dramas on, some decent comedy again. So it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? BBC was lost about 20 years ago, says Rob Alexander. Tony Farrell's in the live chat. Sorry to be joining so late. What have I missed? As if I didn't know. Trump should buy the BBC and make Elon Musk Director General, says Not Banksy. He's talked about buying Britain. Never mind by the BBC. Don't joke about it. I think he's perfectly capable of doing it. Yeah, what? The timing couldn't be worse for Doctor Who, obviously, but Doctor Who is just one show. People who have children, women, you can't say it's people. You are reprimanded. Yeah, that was the business with Maxine Croxall, the newsreader that I showed a picture of a moment ago. So she was reprimanded for going off script and speaking English, common sense, and biological factual reality. There she is. That's Maxine. And yes, the complaints against her, 20 complaints were made against her after she said pregnant women rather than pregnant people live on air. The complaints against her were upheld, just a few days earlier. That's how bad it's got when you can't say something as simple, as true as that. TV was gold in the 70s and the 80s. Fool's gold since the mid-80s, says Lee Smith. That long. Results will vary on this. I still watched, as I said, I still watched a lot of BBC after that. The BBC is definitely on borrowed time. I'm afraid, yes, it is. Doctor Who fans, generally speaking, have been loyaler to the BBC than most because we love the show so much. And we're grateful to the BBC for bringing it to us in the first place, aren't we? And so I think, generally speaking, as a breed, Doctor Who fans have been fiercely loyal to the BBC, almost to the point of being defensive. But really, I think that those days have to be behind us. Not least of all, because they've let down Doctor Who so badly as well. They weaponized Doctor Who in the culture war. They used it as a key tool in the Equality and Diversity Charter from 2015 to propagandize the audience. They saw Doctor Who as a key tool in that. That's how little they thought of the audience. That's how much they took us for granted, our support for granted. And they weren't entirely wrong in that. There's still a lot of Doctor Who fans on social media now, even after all this defending the BBC. Even after this isn't a matter of politics. No matter what you think about President Trump, about the things he says, the things he does, about policies, whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, a conservative or a progressive, that doesn't matter. If you can't see that this is wrong, this is so morally wrong, then you are lost. You have been brainwashed by the BBC. You've been radicalized up to a point. If you can't see that it's wrong to misrepresent someone so badly, the president is relishing watching the BBC squirm and those two high-profile resignations, and I don't blame him at all. I don't blame him at all. Why shouldn't he enjoy that outcome? And why shouldn't he take them to court? They need to be taught a lesson. They need to be slimmed down drastically. And most importantly, whatever they're doing, it shouldn't be using public money, like in 2025. Heretic is in the live chat and said, I just had a Google and it appears Labour are considering extending the Royal Charter to cover streaming services to combat the high number of people cancelling their licence. Yes, and there was talk about Labour incorporating the BBC into, the licence, incorporating that into digital ID and incorporating the BBC, paying for the BBC into the council tax as well. Right. So the idea, it would be that if you drive, if you're a homeowner, if you drive on the roads, that kind of thing, then you effectively have to pay for the BBC as well. So they're going to do this stuff because nobody can stop them. I mean, really, I'd like to think the king would have done something about this by now, but he's clearly not going to. Lee Smith says, what Russell T Davies did to Doctor Who is a national scandal. But he's just the latest in a line, isn't he? Let's not forget Chris Chibnall. The appointment of Chris Chibnall, the decisions that he made, all under Piers Wenger's watch. I'm no fan of Russell T Davies, not anymore. But it's not just him, is it? It's not just him. It started a long time before. Yeah, I like having Chillstream, says Lorthoff. Yeah, this isn't that chilled, is it? I was really aerated about this, particularly yesterday. More and more angry, more and more frustrated. As Doctor Who fans, I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. As Doctor Who fans, as viewers, as devotees, we're a very loyal bunch. And yes, we are opinionated about the stories, but generally speaking, we're also forgiving of the things that we don't enjoy. All we ever wanted was more good days than bad. That's all. A commitment to the series, to one of their only 2 or 3 big brand successes that are worth anything. Never mind globally, even domestically, that make them any real money. All we ever wanted was more good days than bad back. For all that devotion, all that love, all that support. What do we get? Get split seasons, gap years, weaponization, gender swap gimmicks, gaslighting, and eventually, well, that, didn't we? That's what we got. Lee is in the live chat and asks, if the BBC were impartial, it wouldn't be so crammed of woke political ideology and always targeting everyone that isn't a radical leftist. Yeah, and the radical leftists are out in force trying to defend even this one, Lee. Let's chill while the BBC burns, says Lee Smith. I don't want to see it go down. I don't. But it has to. Clearly it has to. It's rotten to the core. Be washed, says Lee. Yes, so Trump's legal team are moving in on the BBC. They're taking legal action against them, claiming statements in that documentary were fabricated. Misinformation from the very people who take it upon themselves to judge the information from the misinformation. The Doctor Who universe has not been entirely quiet on this subject, so I have had a look around to see the effects of this over the last few days. Who's saying what? And we do have some quotes. Who have we got first? How about? Oh yeah, we saw him earlier on when he was standing up for the BBC. What does John Cleese have to say in 2025? Now, John Cleese talks a lot of old bollocks a lot of the time. He seems to flip and flop and flop and flip. But on this subject, He said, I hope this is the start of a huge restructuring of the BBC, with people of experience and talent being introduced to what used to be a great organisation. Hint, bureaucracies aren't good at creativity. Fawlty Towers legend John Cleese. They're in the City of Death. It counts. It doesn't make him a Doctor Who legend. But he was in Doctor Who, so it sort of counts. It counts. Most vocal of all has been the actress Frances Barber, who played Madame Kavarian in the Stephen Moffat, Matt Smith era. And she's quite active on social media as well. I wouldn't describe her as an activist, but she's not backward in coming forward. And this is what Frances Barber had to say. I'm deeply sorry the BBC has found itself in this crisis, but it was inevitable. I don't think it's a cabal. It was its own failure. Drag queen stories every day at the expense of grooming gangs and stabbings was always going to infuriate the public, says the actress Frances Barber. How based is that? She went on to say, I've been reading the heartfelt excuses for the BBC from some of their most esteemed commentators and journalists. I've seen some of that as well. I am not on the side of defund, but I'm deeply disappointed and concerned that our public broadcaster has been so lax and downright irresponsible in their reporting. Men who rape women should not be referred to as she. Powerful, damning, and more importantly, true. Get in, Francis, says Peter Harrington. Damn, says Pluto's spirit. Wow, says Lord Thoth. Based Barber, says Lee. Decent actress, true. So, yet, again, she's another one, a great British character actress who doesn't take any shit. But all of this is worded cleanly, clearly, evenly, respectfully. And she's absolutely right. This is the mood of certainly the British public. What the American audience now, how they view the BBC now, I suspect that the blinkers have come away there as well. Let's look at some more. We've got the writer Gareth Roberts, one of my favourite Doctor Who writers, Gareth Roberts, sort of drummed out of the Doctor Who universe by activists probably about 8 or 9 years ago now. He responded to the news with a usual sort of cutting wit. Of course, Gareth Roberts, the writer of Closing Time, how appropriate is that? So he waded in with, I'm amazed, he said, when he'd read about the resignation of Deborah Turnus and Tim Davie. I'm amazed. This is a good sign. But the real rot is embedded in every corner of the institution. And he's in the position to know. Gareth Roberts, novelist, writer, TV industry professional. Not just a guy who wrote half a dozen Doctor Who episodes. This man was involved in television from the early to mid-90s onwards. Stuff like Emmerdale, various dramas. Seen it all. And one of the earliest people pushed under the bus. Roberts went on to say, and people should really know by now, invite the gender vampire across your threshold, and this is always the result. What do you think he's talking about there? Of course, he's talking about identity politics, isn't he? Activism. Not any particular groups themselves, but the evils that are committed in their name. Again, I'm aware there are people in our community here at Type 40 who belong to most groups. We've certainly got trans viewers, gay viewers, bisexual viewers. People just getting on with their lives. It's the activists that cause the problems. Invite the gender vampire across your threshold, and this is always the result. Go woke, go broke, go down in flames. Gareth Roberts on X as well. Go and check him out. It's an evil destruction of our culture. I put out a tweet about the state of the country and it was removed. When was that, Stephen? I think X is a lot better than Twitter was. A lot better. Ouch from Gareth, says garbage. Doesn't pull any punches, does it? Yeah, I think Lee is in favour. Michael Disney says about Frances Barber's comment. She's right, except it's not lax and irresponsible. It's deliberate. I agree with you. I think Frances is still slightly behind the curve there, wanting to believe the best in them. Looking back to Frances Barber again. She was damn sexy in a wee part for Red Dwarf. Yes, she played Jenny, the genetic mutant, didn't she? Russell T. Davies will tell the BBC to blacklist Frances Barber and release an edited disc to remove her from the episodes that she's in. Now, I'm laughing, but he probably would. She'll be too far right to be left in Doctor Who. Thank you, everybody. Peter Finkman's in as well, as is Matrix Lord 122. So people still finding us. And not Banksy says institutional communists were behind accusations of institutional racism, and then jumped into the vacuum. It seems to me. What a sorry state of affairs. Yeah, I mean, you think how could things go this bad? I mean, surely somebody within the BBC is keeping watch. I mean, didn't you hear about BBC Verify? That was the arm of the BBC that was introduced about 3 or 4 years ago now. The idea being that you could trust BBC Verify to check the accuracy of any information online at all, published by anybody, including the BBC. Within 36 hours, they were found to be publishing falsehoods about individuals, where they'd gone, what they'd said, that kind of thing. And then a little while later, the chief, the public face of BBC Verify, it was revealed that Mariana Spring she lied on her own CV to get the job in the first place. Couldn't fucking write it, could you? Riddled with hypocrisy, entitlement, deceit, disrespect, and criminality. Ofcom have responded to the whole affair. This is Dame Melanie Dawes, the chief executive of Ofcom, and they're as woke as fuck as well. But Dame Melanie said, "I'd like to thank Tim Davie for his contribution as Director General of the BBC. Over the past 5 years, Tim has led at a time of great change and challenge. He's failed at every challenge that I can certainly think of, hasn't he? Dame Melanie. The BBC is a strong and valued part of our media landscape. Well, it was. And the BBC board will now need to reflect on how it ensures that the BBC continues to deliver for UK audiences. How many people are on the BBC board? I'm not entirely sure. It's quite a lot. The BBC board will now need to reflect on how it ensures that the BBC continues to deliver for UK audiences. I haven't got a problem with that. Continues? Okay, I'll let that fly. I haven't got a problem with that. But I wish they'd start using the word customers, you know? It has to be accepted that people who have a BBC TV license are customers. And therefore, they have a choice whether they remain customers or not. We're not bolted to the sofas. We're not connected via some sort of psychic link to the BBC, whereby we need to interact with them at least once a day to make sure we get topped up with propaganda. Customers, Dame Melanie. The customers are always right. This is a shame. It's a shambles. And it's funny as fuck. It's been a long time coming. Not just because of the damage that they've done to Doctor Who and countless other shows, and the audiences that have been so loyal to them. But the genuine atrocities that have been committed in the name of the BBC, both creative and genuine real-world criminality. Can the BBC survive the BBC? Never mind Doctor Who. That's the big question. Will this affect Doctor Who? Will this affect the currency of the brand, its viability to any potential global streaming platform, whether it's Paramount Plus or Netflix or anyone? I can't see how it cannot. Problem Being says, I'm not an audience, a consumer, a demographic. I'm a customer. It's the same. Yeah. Ofcom can piss off. They're now going to block all online gaming unless you provide your ID, even if it's a single player and only needs internet to launch. Wankers. They're going to try this with everything. They're determined. Lord fucking Voldemort himself, Tony Blair, and his digital ID. Absolute wanker. Fucking hate that bloke. If you want a good laugh, says Funky, I need a laugh, mate. If you want a good laugh, just look up the Ofcom list of rude words. It's brilliant. I'll do that. Lee says the BBC isn't even overseen by Ofcom. It polices itself. Yeah, they've got a kind of jurisdiction thing, haven't they, where Ofcom are only allowed so deep into BBC paperwork, in effect, into their protocol. Fucking hell. Who watches The Watchmen? Tim Divvy has done F4. I can't think of anything he's done. I can't. I mean, to be fair, 5 years. 5 years ago, I think, was when I gave up my license. So I haven't been a customer for the entire time he's been there. But I can't. I think in the line of duty, Traitors. I'm struggling to think of any other BBC show that's made a big impact. New BBC show. In fact, Line of Duty may have started before Tim Divvy took the role. may have. I'm not. I have to ask Charlotte Shields about that. She'll. Dear me. Heretic says, I replied to the BBC Verify video on Facebook about all the posts they had to delete for providing incorrect verification. Funnily enough, they didn't give an answer. The BBC Verify is the BBC Ministry of Truth. Of course, that's what it is. And Rob says, we're in the era of fake news. We are. As funny as that is, when President Trump says all that stuff, and his mannerisms, his voice, he's a very larger than life character, isn't he? He's a peculiar character, easy to caricature. But that doesn't mean the stuff that he says isn't right. Certainly not in this instance. I'm not as up on international politics as probably several of you, but I know bullshit when I smell it. BBC verified it got a fail. It did indeed. Yeah, so what does all of that mean for Doctor Who? I'd love to know what you think. I can't see how this can possibly reflect well on anything that carries the BBC brand, the BBC name. To me, Doctor Who is, whilst not tainted forever, it should be looking to accept the fact that times have changed. This isn't the golden age of TV anymore. That the BBC has done it to itself. Only then can it have any kind of future. We could well see a time when BBC logo starts to get smaller, be positioned in a slightly less noticeable place. Unless they turn it around, and realistically, what are the likely chances of that? Are they going to have learnt their lesson this time? And what could the future hold? Where could things go?
A really unsavoury position for our national broadcaster, Nigel, that quite rightly we can say is no longer impartial. And
this is a clip from Talk TV. I gather this was earlier today. There's Jeremy Kyle there, one of their regular anchors, and he's speaking to the leader of Reform, Nigel Farage, a popular character in Britain, not just as a politician, but as a personality himself. Never been the BBC's biggest fan, so hardly an impartial voice, but nonetheless, with the popularity, the Reform are the most popular political party in Britain. It stands a chance. The Labour Party are terrified of Reform. They've got every reason to be. It's highly likely that wherever any elections are held, Reform are going to win them. And they'll certainly will. If there was a general election in a month, they would absolutely romp it home.
There is institutional bias, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, Trump is just really the final straw, isn't it? And by the way, I mean, I did speak to the president on Friday, and I can't even tell you how angry he was.
Can't say I blame him, can you? That speech that he gave on that particular day led to an incident of unrest later in the day, didn't it? The occasion led to an incident of unrest, which whilst he was no part of, which he probably feels regretful of, and he's aware because several people went to prison. I think somebody lost their life as well, and he's caught up in that. And for them to make out that he was directly responsible for the actions of individuals, of course he would.
As he said, is this how you treat allies? I mean, it's a very strong point. It's a very strong point, isn't it? I mean, without America, we are basically defenseless. On issue after issue after issue, you see deep, inbuilt bias. Now, I think because the BBC is drawn from such a narrow segment of society,
all lefties, all living in Islington, all go to the same dinner parties, went to the same schools, fuck the same people.
They're so biased, they don't even know they're biased, just because of the type of people that make it up. So look, I think, look at the numbers. 500,000 people last year stopped paying the license fee. 500,000 people the year.
I was 500,000 a year. My apologies. I thought it was 1 million. Still a good result, isn't it?
Before, stop paying the license fee. And I really think the institution is in the last chance saloon. It needs a bold, brave, new Director General to come in, somebody with experience of turning around the culture of an organisation, because that...
Are there any people like that left? Where would you go to find someone like that, of that caliber now? I'm not sure.
That's the problem here. It's deeply cultural. And someone with the courage to say that the BBC in the modern world doesn't need to do entertainment. The BBC in the modern world doesn't need to do sport.
So that's quite harsh, isn't it, to hear that idea? A BBC which doesn't produce entertainment or sport. To inform and entertain was the remit of the BBC. The idea that the BBC shouldn't be making it entertainment. I struggle to reconcile that.
All of that can be on subscription, and they can compete against...
Oh, I see. So they would still do that, but they would just do it under a subscription model rather than as things currently are.
Online services, ITV, you name it.
Yeah.
Does the BBC have a global role for Britain that's important? You bet your life it does. But that, of course, is paid for with a Foreign Office. And I do think the BBC World Service matters. So the BBC should be pared back to just doing news at local and national level, given a chance to do it impartially.
Give it a chance to do it impartially. You know, if we could look back through history, it's probably been the case that the BBC has never been impartial. But we'll never know that for certain, will we? But to cling on to that model, to be impartial at a time where there are citizen journalists, such competition out there, the immediacy with which one can get news through social media.
But literally, that's the last chance saloon. And the idea that we should all be paying £181 a year, which is the new proposal, no, that's for the birds. This current subscription model is completely outdated. It has to go. Let's have a slimmed-down BBC doing a very basic job and doing it well. And if it can't do that, it will have to go altogether.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. It may be a harsh reality, but it's a reality nonetheless. What do you think about Farage's proposals there for where the BBC could go, how it could look and function? I wouldn't describe that as a visionary take by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's a sensible one. I think it's a workable one, a practical one, a timely and financially viable one. We all know what the BBC think of their audience, don't we? You know, they show them not much respect. It's primary. That's what they think. We shall see. Restore Britain, the movement fronted by Rupert Lowe, have also published their beliefs of how the BBC could move forward. And they're available to read on their socials as well. They are also endorsing the defunding of the BBC. Restore Britain on social media. Go and check out what they have to say as well. Currently, the BBC has those 4 major TV channels. All that history behind 2 of them. Really, do they need 4? Do they need 2? Probably not. How do you think things are going to work out? Do you think Trump will take them to court, particularly at Christmas? How's that going to play out? Do you think the BBC will apologise? And how soon? Can the BBC salvage their legacy? Restore integrity to their brands? Damage done to Panorama alone. Been on screen since 1953. To wait and see, won't we? Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, let's see what people have got to say. Let's get some more comments. Peter Harrington is focusing on the important points. God, is he still on the telly? Jeremy Kyle, I mean, looks like it. He was on ITV for a long time, and then there was I think that he was on his show, which I can't remember much about. But I know there was a fatality, and Jeremy Kyle himself went through some personal problems, so I don't know much about that. You have to find out. Problem being, I can't stand Jeremy Kyle. No, I take him or leave him. I don't pay much attention. Okay, comments about Jeremy Kyle. Yeah, I don't care about Jeremy Kyle, everybody. Come on. Or Nigel Farage. Come on, let's keep it on topic. I'll do it for free, says Stephen Braddock. And problem being, says this country is utterly rudderless because we simply don't turn out natural leaders anymore. No, we don't. There are no statesmen left. I said the closest that we have is Rupert Lowe, and he's not interested in leading a political party. He believes in a cross-party, non-partisan movement to raise awareness and to champion causes. And I see there's a huge amount of integrity in that. Just opportunists, all of them. I count Nigel Farage in that up to a point. I think he's a very self-serving man, but it's fucking true, the things that he said. Tony Farrell says, I saw Mr. Farage's comments about the BBC in front of a 300-strong audience of small business owners. He was greeted with rapturous applause when he effectively said that the BBC should just do the news. See, I'm not sure I agree with that, but I think that he is right. I think that they need to be competitive, that time is over. And there's no reason why that stuff shouldn't, why the entertainment and sports content shouldn't stand like that. No reason at all. The truth is that the BBC has always been pro-government state. That's all there is to it, says Lee. Cool and Dry says the British Bullshit Corporation. Several amusing acronyms, alternative acronyms going around, aren't there, at the moment? See, this is the BBC that I remember, that I loved. BBC Pebble Mill, just a few miles up the road from me. Now, a housing estate, I believe. And once the employer of Mr. Simon Horton, like bought his own Simon Horton. I never went to Pebble Mill, but I would drive past it now and again. The BBC needs to be impartial, but it is anything but, says Garbage. State broadcaster is just so wrong in this day and age. I agree, Lee. I think it sounds unseemly. Trump will want something, that's for sure. It may not be the money, though. No, I think it's the principle. So he said to Nigel Farage, pretty evidently, this is how you treat your allies? I think there must be some natural leaders somewhere, but due to the system, either they aren't encouraged or allowed, says Pluto Spirit. But they're recruited from a shallow pool of, just as Lee said, of opportunists, of the privileged, the entitled. They don't view it as some sort of calling. And a great many of them have had no former professional life and success. Whereas at one time, to go into politics, you usually had to have been successful in industry or in some sort of endeavor, something that had benefited people somewhere and somehow. It's not like that anymore. And the BBC is not culturally British anymore. It's a patchwork of activism. So says not Banksy. Couldn't agree more. When the British state broadcaster actively panders to absolutely everyone but the British people and has actual disdain for the British people, then its time is up, says Problem Being. And I think that's the perfect place to leave it this time. How will this affect Doctor Who? Are we obsessed to be thinking about Doctor Who in the wake of all this? But how will this affect Doctor Who and all of its other brands, come to think of it? Let me know what you think. Tony says, Dan, is making me sad. We've lost Television Centre, Pebble Mill, Ealing Studios and Lime Grove, all those places with all that history, all those connections. We lost the BBC a long time ago. To activism. Activists. I don't think it can ever be taken back, to tell you the truth. And it may well be time for Doctor Who to disappear itself for a little while, if it stands any chance of survival. I've always been hesitant, reluctant to entertain the idea of the BBC offloading it, selling it somehow, somewhere. Firstly, I can't imagine them ever doing it. But I always wanted it to remain with the BBC. Those two logos together seem to belong. But I don't feel that way anymore. I don't know, it's only a little thing. But I don't really see how or why the BBC should be blocking any of its customers on social media. Thank you for joining me this time, guys. I'm not sure how chilled out this has actually been, but I had to talk about it. I had to look at it somehow. So I'm glad you've joined me for this perusal at the happenings over the last 4 or 5 days. Let's see where it goes. I suspect that it won't result in court action in the end. I think that an apology will be forthcoming somehow, but where's it going to come from? Where? When? We're just going to have to wait and watch, aren't we? Do you remember? It's only a couple of years ago when it was 100 years of our BBC. That was the last time they had a major sort of corporate rebrand, wasn't it? And to be fair, we scoffed then. It all felt a little bit thin then. We didn't believe them. I think that wraps it up this time. If you want more from us, from me, if you can stand some more, this is the Type 40 podcast. Proper content. So this is a long-running Doctor Who podcast. You can get it on Spotify. You can get it on Audible, on Apple, on Amazon, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. And that's our home feed at type40.podbean.com. Go over to the Fandom Podcast Network to check out the master feed. You don't just get Type 40 there, you get a dozen other great value podcasts as well. Superb conversations. We're very proud to still be part of the Fandom Podcast Network. More about that next year. Type 40 Live's back in a couple of days' time. So Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook there with our big live stream. The Big Who for Thursday. And we've a lot of topics. Cooking, you'll be pleased to learn. A panel waiting to come back, to come on. And lots to talk about as ever. So be there for that. It'll be a laugh, I promise. News, views, nostalgia, debate, and more stupid dad jokes. Thanks very much. Everyone's a critic. Okay, yes. So, God, has that really been 2 hours? Dear me. Read your... Lee, I'm terrible at it. For some reason, excuse me while I talk to my mate, Lee, for some reason I don't even get notifications to my phone from Instagram. I'm gonna. I think I've still got 2 accounts. So yes, I haven't read my DMs. I do apologize. I'll go and read them directly after this. Cool and Dry is one of several new names, new people in the live chat, I think, this time. Yeah, thanks for being here, everybody, for helping me sort of process this. More casual chatter coming soon. Generally, these chill streams are at other times of the day when I've got the free time, or when other people are free, and we can sort of pop up. But I really wanted to talk about this, and yeah, had to be done. Had to be done. Charlotte always gets a shout out in one form or another. We still have Philip Royer's Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion to look forward to sometime next year. We do. Nicholas Horton, we do. I've got to get back to Phil as well. I've got to return his email. Elise says, I mourn the lost BBC, but that died a long time ago. David Milling is in the live chat as well. Good night, my friend. Just a total shambles. I've tried my best. Have to come in and sort me out. Come and show me what I've been doing wrong in a couple of days' time. We'll have another chat. Dan, do more chill streams, says Cool and Dry. Well, I probably will. We're going to be developing things again here at Type 40 with, yeah, well, more about that next year, but yeah. Good stuff. You're doing something right if you're getting blocked by the BBC on X, says Funky. And Michael Disney says, Dan, you speak the truth. Well done and thanks. You speak the truth. Thank you. That's tickled me. I got a good night from Pluto Spirit. Thank you for all the comments, Pluto. Yeah, so that does wrap it up for another one. The podcast, the live streams, all the housekeeping, that's all done. Thanks for the comments. Drop some more underneath by all means. And yeah, I'll see you back here for more in a couple of days' time. We always have the time if you have the space here at Type 40, whether it's with fabulous fan art like this or more stupid jokes. You never know what you're going to get. Sometimes some rants, sometimes some raves, sometimes some chills, and sometimes some thrills. There you go. So yes, well, I'll see you in a couple of days' time. Check out the videos, check out the podcasts. If you're subbed or you think you're subbed, you might have to check to see if you are, because yeah, YouTube can be funny like that. And we'll catch up. We'll catch up soon.